Okay, got another group v group match, this time between Ujay Christmas for Central and Aaron Drago for Squirtle Squad. As usual, this is just me giving like a battle analysis of it. And before anything, I mean, the two Facebook groups that are battling are in the description. Make sure to join them for competitive content, stuff like that. And I mean, drop a like, subscribe. I mean, I forget this thing's inverted, so all that fun stuff. And yeah, just I mean, look forward to it, and let me know in the comments before you do anything else who you think is going to win, your early prediction, and then at the end, let's see if you're right. So let's go ahead and get started. So we've got Ujay brought Ninetales Alola, Lando, Volk, Suicune, Bisharp, and Dragapult, and Aaron brought Volk, Blissey, Zapdos, Slowking, Galar, Buzzwole, and Melmetal. Alright, so Ujay led Lando and Aaron led with Melmetal. I mean, probably best to switch out. Click U-turn. Whatever, he went for rocks. I guess he assumed that the Melmetal wouldn't stay in. I mean, kind of a risky play in case it decided to actually go for Ice Beam. So he goes Buzzwole here and gets a ton off on the Ninetales Alola. But I mean, Ninetales Alola can probably just switch out and go into, well, let's see. Okay, so he clicks Moonblast, so yeah, because I mean, Buzzwole didn't really want to take that, but I mean, Melmetal switches in, takes that easy, and can honestly just get off a double Iron Bash. So he goes Suicune here, which can kind of sponge up some attacks due to its like typing and natural bulk, but he goes for Rock Slide. I'm assuming to catch the Lando switch in. So Suicune's in. I mean, he goes for Scald here, when honestly, he probably could have went into Blissey, but I mean, he does do 53% to the Suicune, so I mean, it's really worth it. Gets another Scald off, doesn't get the burn, but he goes for Rock Slide again. I mean, Suicune's now at 11%, so he goes out into a Zapdos here. I mean, he clicks Scald again. Kind of really risky, just like, because Suicune could have died easily at any point. Goes for Protect on the Zapdos. Blocks it with blocks of defog, so hazards are still there, Suicune's still there, and he goes for goes for Scald again, and the Zapdos lands a Hurricane and no more Suicune. But I mean, Suicune's kind of done a solid job of kind of punching holes a bit, especially with the Melmetal and the Zapdos, because now Zapdos can't just freely defog on the Lando. So he goes Buzzwole, he goes for Explosion, I'm assuming that he lead the Zapdos in. And Buzzwole is now at 50%. Ninetales Alola comes out. And he goes Slowking Galar here. Gets an Aurora Veil up. And honestly, he can double into Bisharp here. He went for Flamethrower, so he's kind of got to fear the burn a bit. Takes the hail damage, but I mean, Bisharp can... I mean, the best play would probably be to SD here. Yep. And he did. And he can just click, he can probably kill it with maybe Iron Head. Yep, he kills with Iron Head. And his team is really slow. So I don't think that he really has anything that can outspeed the Bisharp. Zapdos comes in, obviously, to try to get a paralysis. Doesn't get the para, so Zapdos is now gone. I mean, he really doesn't have a solid switch in. Volt comes out and goes for knockoff, knocks out the Volcanion. Yeah, I think Volcanion was kind of his only hope to really hope that it would maybe survive that. Blissey comes out, dies to the knockoff. And yeah, it was pretty much GG, because knockoff would kill the Slowking and knockoff would also kill the Melmetal, which is at 37%. So far, it's 1-0 for Ujay. So, on to game 2. And Ujay brought in a Weavile. So, he brought in the same team as last time. And also, say what it is. Weavile, Skarm, Garchomp, Slowking, Nidoking, and Tapu Koko. And Aaron brought out Victini, Volcanion, Blissey, Zapdos, Slowking G, and Lando. Alright. So, I mean, yeah, easy lead. Garchomp, I mean, free rocks here. He leads a Victini. Guess Victini kind of feared maybe a Scarf Chomp maybe. So I mean, they both go pivot out, Slow King and Lando T, both Slow Kings, and I mean, okay, they're just switching back and forth. Goes back into Slow King on the Flamethrower, and I mean, he can honestly click his yeah, Future Sight. They'll both probably click Future Sight. Like, Ujay Slow King doesn't really have any reason to switch out what it did, but Arun's does, because he doesn't want to take that Future Sight damage. So he goes Weavile, and Weavile pressures out the Lando. Goes for a knockoff and gets rid of the Rocky Helmet. And I believe this turn Lando catches the... No, next turn Lando will catch the... Nope, caught it this turn. This turn it caught the Future Sight. So he switches out into Garchomp, which, I mean, he doubles into Volcanion. And Garchomp pretty much just gets free rocks here. So he goes back into Scarm, which can kind of take most attacks Lando can dish out, but he goes for SD and a Stone Edge, and it actually lands, but he whirlwinds out the Lando T, which is really good for him. So Zapdos comes out, but Zapdos, I mean, automatically scares out the Scarm. And he goes Coco here. I mean, Zapdos is obviously going to go for a free defog, and let's see, he goes into Lando T here. Honestly, Blissey might have been the better switch in, just for the sake of damage and risk. Or Slow King honestly could have been a switch in. So he goes Dazzling Gleam, that only does 7% to it. Clicks U-turn, which does more, it's 13%, goes into his own Slow King, and again, it's kind of that looping of Future Sight. Volcanion comes out. Oh, so he teleports here instead. Goes Coco. And even still, I mean, so he leaves it in. Clicks U-turn and goes into a Slow King again. That was a really risky play. Gets a Flamethrower off, and he takes Future Sight, and Volcanion will also take Future Sight. Oh no, it didn't this turn. Okay. So he switches into Slow King G. And Ujay goes for teleport, goes back into Weavile here. I think maybe I missed the Future Sight, or he didn't click it. And Lando is kind of in range to be killed by an Ice Shard. Yep. So no more Lando T, which basically makes Tapu Koko a lot tougher for Aaron's team to face. I mean, only thing he really has is Blissey, but he can kind of play around that a bit. And Slow King comes out, takes a Steam Eruption really well. Unfortunately, gets burned. So, I mean, it's some residual damage to really worry about. And, I mean, Slow King can just... Yeah, the Earth Power did nothing. He can just teleport here. Oh, it goes for Future Sight, yeah. Because Future Sight basically can force switches. Gets a Slack off. And... Yeah, Volcanion, yeah, it had to switch out. But he goes into Slow King Galar. Goes into Weavile here. And Slow King Galar gets... Okay, only 20%. Wow, okay. So that's why he switched in. That was like no damage. He gets a knockoff on the Zapdos, but unfortunately gets paired. So he has to... He can't really rely on Weavile's sweeping ability. Goes for Roost here, and Coco can, I mean, just gonna click U-turn at this point. And goes back into Weavile, and I believe Weavile is actually faster than Slow King, even full paired. So Zapdos comes in, goes for Triple Axle, 1, 2, and 3, and he can click Ice Shard and kill. But he goes Victini here, and he doubles into his own Coco. Goes back into Chomp. Victini goes for V-Create. Ends up touching the Garchomp. And takes the residual damage from Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin. Goes back into Zapdos here. And, I mean, it's free rocks. And I believe this Garchomp's running Toxic and a free Toxic. So, puts that Zapdos on a timer. Goes for a Roost here. And Garchomp honestly can just switch out if he wants to. Yep, and goes Coco. Because, I mean, Zapdos is kind of forcing himself to defog, but instead he goes for Hurricane. And Coco can pretty much, yeah, just clicks T-Boat. Fortunately for him, the T-Boat didn't kill, but he will die to Toxic this turn. And I mean, Blissey or Slowking are the natural switch in here. So clicks U-turn, and I mean, he can go back into, okay, he goes to his own Slowking. Weavile could have been a good switch in just because it still outspeeds and nothing on that team wants to switch into a knockoff. So he clicks Future Sight, goes for Teleport, and now he brings in the Weavile because, like I said, nothing wants to take that a potential knockoff. Volcanion comes in. I don't think this thing's running boots. Let's see what it's running. Assault Vest. So yeah, that actually helps out a lot. Goes back into Slowking, which can pretty much like sponge up anything from Volcanion. Slowking takes that Future Sight like a champ. Only 18%. Takes the Earth Power here. And goes for Teleport. And brings out the Garchomp. And Garchomp can pretty much just click Earthquake because, I mean, everything on the team is now grounded because Zapdos and Landorus are gone. And Aaron forfeit. And, I mean, at that point, I mean, Garchomp pretty much just would wreak havoc on the team. So, I mean, it's a honorable forfeit. Nothing wrong with forfeiting at all. And that's GG. I mean, 2-0 for Ujay, which means 2 points for Central and 0 points for Squad. So, yeah, I mean, 2 points for us. Let me know what you thought about the battle, if you predicted correctly. And, yeah, guys, have a good day as usual.